Ben Franklin was a famous person in history. He was born in Boston in 1706. He learned how to read when he was 3 years old. He learned about electricity and made inventions with electricity. He helped write the U.S. Constitution. He created the first library in America. He helped America win freedom from the Great Britain. He helped America win the Revolutionary War. He became the third president of the USA.
Jefferson was a famous person in history. Thomas was born in 1743 in Virginia. When Thomas was growing, his family owned a farm run by slaves. When his father died, he was 16. Thomas became the new owner of the slaves. Thomas went to the College of William and Mary and then became a lawyer in 1767. After Thomas left the Continental Congress in the fall of 1776, Thomas served in the Virginia legislature. Thomas met Martha Skelton. They married on New Year's. They had a baby named after her mom. Thomas is one of the most admired leaders in U.S. history. Thomas was the secretary of George Washington and vice president for John Adams, and then became full president. Thomas's face was carved in Mount Rushmore. Thomas died on July 4th, 1826. He was 83. Thomas helped double the size of the United States. Thomas was the founding father of the U.S. and the third president. Thomas is famous for writing the Declaration of Independence.
Jackie Robinson was a famous person in history. He was in many sports such as basketball, football, baseball. Jackie Robinson was often treated unfairly because he was black. Jackie Robinson was born in 1919 in Georgia. Sometimes in school, whites would not play with him. In 1945, Jackie signed to play on a black players' team. Jackie Robinson was famous because he was the first African American to play national baseball. He left college to earn money for his family. He joined the Army. Jackie had 174 hits and 125 home runs. Jackie set the national college record for the long jump. He played in 4 sports at one time while in college and won awards in each of them. Jackie Robinson played in the major leagues. He played for 10 years for the Brooklyn Dodgers. His team, the Brooklyn Dodgers, won the World Series in 1955. Jackie was elected in the National Baseball Hall of Fame in 1962.
Benjamin Franklin was a famous person in history. He was born in 1706 in Boston. Ben had 14 older siblings and only his mom was home to take care of all of them. Ben started to write articles when he was 10. Ben started his own newspaper when he was 16. Also in 1726 he moved to Philadelphia. He wrote Poor Richard's Almanac in 1733. Ben shares and helped the poor. He invented bifocals and made a lot of glasses. In 1776, he asked France to help the American colonies win the war. He helped write the U.S. Constitution in 1787. 1790 was the year he died. He died when he was 84. Harriet Tubman was a famous person in history. She was born in the early 1820s. Harriet Tubman started being a slave when she was 6 years old. Harriet Tubman had to disguise herself so they didn't know she was an escaped slave. Harriet Tubman is a conductor of the Underground Railroad. Pennsylvania didn't allow
people to own slaves. Harriet Tubman and her brothers fled before sold to the chain gang. Harriet Tubman supported women's right to vote. Harriet Tubman led 300 people along the Underground Railroad during the Civil War. Harriet Tubman worked for the North. She was a nurse, a cook, and a scout. Harriet Tubman escaped in 1849. She went to Philadelphia and became free. She set up a home for old and poor people.
John F. Kennedy was a famous person in history. John was born in the state of Massachusetts in 1917. When John joined the Army, he learned to fight for our country. John graduated from Harvard University during World War II. During World War II, he was the commander of a ship. He became a hero for rescuing his men from the water after their boat was cut in half. After the war, he decided to run for Senate and served for 14 years. On September 12, 1953, he married Jacqueline Bouvier. He ran for president and was elected 35th president. John was the youngest and first Catholic president ever elected. Kennedy was in a parade in Dallas, Texas, November of 1963. He was killed by Lee Harvey Oswald. He will always be remembered as a man who wanted the best for everyone.
Susan B. Anthony was a famous person in history. Susan B. Anthony was born at the state of Massachusetts. She was born in 1820. That is a year women were not allowed to vote. When Susan was older, she became famous for women having the right to vote. Susan became a teacher in the year 1837. When Susan was little, her family was very lucky. The families at that time had to be slaves, but not Susan B. Anthony's family. Susan worked as a teacher and a headmistress. When Susan was a teacher, she only earned $2.50. Men got a lot more money than that woman did. When she was a kid, she worked very hard. She did lots of different household stuff. When Susan became old, she and a woman named Elizabeth had a group of women. They wanted rights. They also had a march. Susan also thought that drinking alcohol should be illegal. She went to several meetings. The men there would not let her talk because she was a woman. Some people told her that they already gave the right for women to vote. So when Susan put a vote in, she got to go to jail and went to court. Susan B. Anthony had 6 brothers and sisters. That is a lot of siblings. She also had loving but a strict mom and dad. They would not let her play with toys, games, sing songs, or do any fun stuff. When Susan died, women had the right to vote. As you can see, Susan B. Anthony was a famous person in history.
Benjamin Franklin was a famous person in history. He was born in 1701, about 300 years ago, in Boston, and he moved to Philadelphia in 1726. Benjamin was really interested in science. He even learned that lightning was electricity. He even invented a lightning rod to protect houses from being struck by lightning. Benjamin made many inventions. In one time, he made his own kite and used that kite to pull him across the lake without moving a step. Benjamin Franklin's brother owned a printing press, and Benjamin Franklin helped his brother. Benjamin Franklin married a lady named Deborah Reed, and it took place 2 years after he worked at the printing press. Benjamin worked to know about things and how they worked. He invented the rocking chair. Benjamin got a kite and flew in the middle of a storm. He felt the storm get electrified, and he proved lightning was electricity. In 1775, the Revolutionary War began, and he asked friends to help the American colonies win freedom for Great Britain. Benjamin helped write the U.S. Constitution in 1787. Benjamin Franklin died at the age of 84 in 1790, and everyone remembered him for the inventions he made, the lightning rod, and the ideas he thought of, and how he asked France to win the Revolutionary War for all the help he gave the United States.
Barack Obama was a famous person in history. He was born on August 4th, 1961 in Honolulu, Hawaii. He came from a large family. Later, he lived in Chicago in 1988. He went to Harvard Law School.
Harriet Tubman was a famous person in history. Harriet was born in the early 1820s in Maryland. She began to be a slave at the age of 6 years old. Slaves tried to escape to the north. Harriet helped over 300 people escape slavery. When Harriet was 6 years old, she was named Minty. When the Civil War ended, Harriet and her family moved to a different home. When she escaped, she followed the North Star. Harriet escaped in 1849. She wanted to help others escape. Harriet became part of the Underground Railroad. Harriet led over 300 people along the Underground Railroad. Harriet helped over 300 people go to the Underground Railroad, but it is not underground or a railroad. It is a secret road to go to the north. She helped many slaves find freedom. Slaves lived in the southern United States. Harriet Tubman is a true American hero.
Bessie Ross was a famous person in history. She was born at Elizabeth Romanus, 1752. Bessie Ross went to school when she was 6 years old. She learned reading, math, and how to sew. Most people think that Bessie Ross made the first American flag. Bessie Ross learned jump rope with her friends. Bessie met a man, his name was John Ross, and then they fell in love, then they got married. She opened a sewing shop with her husband. George Washington, George Ross, and Morris were on the flag community. George Ross let her make the American flag. She had 13 stars, 13 stripes, 1834, age 84.
Jackie Robinson was a famous person in history. Jackie was born in 1919 in Georgia. Then his family and him moved to California. Jackie Robinson joined the United States Army to help fight World War II. In 1947 was when Jackie Robinson became the first African American to play in MLB. Jackie Robinson hit 12 home runs and stole 29 bases in his first year of Major League Baseball. Jackie Robinson was the first African American to win the National Baseball Hall of Fame. He was the first African American honored there.
Thomas Jefferson was a famous person in history. First, he was born in 1743 in Virginia. At the time, Virginia was a British colony. Also, Thomas grew up on a farm, and as a child, he enjoyed reading. Next, Jefferson was elected to help run Virginia that was ruled by the King of Britain, and Thomas was a great thinker and writer. Jefferson wrote about the colonists' rights. Also, Thomas's words inspired colonists to fight for their freedom in the Revolutionary War and also got elected governor. Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence after the war. Finally, in 1803, Jefferson bought Louisiana for $15 million. He was later able to double the size of America. Also, Jefferson is one of the most admired leaders in U.S. history. To conclude, we all remember Jefferson as the father of the Declaration of Independence.
Thomas Jefferson was a famous person in history. He was born in 1743 in Virginia. At the time, Virginia was a British colony. Thomas Jefferson grew up on a farm. As a child, he enjoyed reading. We all remember him as the father of the Declaration of Independence. His words inspired colonists to fight for their freedom. But in the Revolutionary War, Thomas Jefferson was a great thinker and writer. He wrote about the colonists' rights. In 1776, with the Declaration of Independence.
Betsy Ross was a famous person in history. Betsy Ross was born in 1752. Betsy Ross left school when she was a teenager because she was good at sewing. She was so good at sewing, she opened her own shop. Then Betsy met a man named John Ross at the shop. Together they had 5 beautiful children. Their names were Clarissa, Susanna, Rachel, Jane, and Harriet. Betsy and John Ross made clothing, flags, and furniture covers in their sewing shop. Three heard she was so good at sewing, they wanted her to make a special flag. George Washington asked Betsy Ross to make the American flag. Betsy worked hard to make the American flag. Betsy Ross died in 1836 at the age 84.
Jackie Robinson was a famous person in history. Jackie Robinson played for the Brooklyn Dodgers for 10 years, but some people still treated him unfairly because he was an African American. Jackie Robinson was the first African American baseball player to join the major leagues. Jackie Robinson was a great baseball player in 1962. He was elected to the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Jackie Robinson joined the U.S. Army. Some officers treated him unfairly because he was an African American. Jackie Robinson got married in 1946. Jackie Robinson had 2 kids, a boy and a girl. Their names were Elizabeth and Nikki. Jackie Robinson played baseball in the Negro League. Then he was asked to join the Brooklyn Dodgers. Jackie Robinson had only white players on his first Major League Baseball game on April 15, 1947. Jackie Robinson's family moved to California just when he was 5 years old. Jackie Robinson was born in Georgia in 1919.
Barack Obama was a famous person in history. Barack Obama was born on August 4th, 1961 in Honolulu, Hawaii. Barack Obama moved to Jericho with his mom and stepfather when he was a young boy. Barack Obama's mom was from Kansas and his father was from Kenya. Barack Obama was famous because he was the first black president. He went to Harvard Law School and became a lawyer. In 2004, he was elected U.S. Senator. He won an election against John McCain. He was a senator for 7 years. While he was a senator, he gave a speech about Americans joining together. He said he would make America a better place. In 2007, he decides to be the 44th president of America. In 1992, he married Michelle Robinson.
Betsy Ross was a famous person in history. Betsy Ross is born on January 1st, 1752. Betsy lived with 16 brothers and sisters. She was sad that she was one of the oldest siblings of her family. Betsy went to school when she was 6. Betsy's mom taught her how to sew. Betsy sewed every day. Soon she became very good at it. Betsy married 2 other men a few years later. She had 7 daughters. She had a lot of grandchildren. She told her grandchildren many stories about her life. The first United States flag had only 13 stripes and 13 stars. There is a legend behind the flag. The legend is that no one is sure if she really made the first flag. When Betsy made the United States flag, 3 men asked how did she make it. Betsy said it was a secret. Betsy died in 1886 when she was 87 years old.